Paul, I thought, would just for a change, would start with injuries. Really worrying to see Ben, and I could tell he was frustrated when he came off on Tuesday.
Oh, massively. Yeah, he's frustrated, raging. It's not looking good at the moment for him. I don't think there was any malice in the tackle, but it wasn't a good tackle. A really poor tackle from the boy. And we're looking at probably 4 to 6 weeks with him. It's the other ankle, and it's just, am I allowed to say, sod's law? He's worked really hard to get back from the first injury, and then he has a recurrence in training with doing set plays ready for a county cup game, and then his first game back, and we need him available because he's a good player. We are a little bit short in that centre back position, especially with Corey's knock that he got last week, and he would have certainly been an option if Corey's not fit for Saturday for Ben to come back in, because he's at that level of fitness. The plan was for him only to play 60 minutes in case he was needed for this weekend. So to get that challenge, and I don't know if anybody could see that his ankle blew up straight away in massive swelling. So what we're hoping is that the swelling goes down quickly, and it's not as bad as we feared, because we actually thought he could have broken his leg at first. It's not that bad, and we're hoping possibly 4 weeks he should be back available for us, and fingers crossed that's what happens.
Will he go down to Stockport, or will he stay with us, Paul?
No, I think the plan at the moment is that he's going to stay with us, because it's literally a case of getting the swelling down, and the pain will subside once the swelling goes as well, and then we'll start building him up. So I think it's a case of keeping him in the building, and hopefully he'll be fine.
You mentioned Corey. That looked like it hurt him as well with the 2 knocks that he took on the foot.
Yeah, he had quite a bit of swelling on the foot in the first half, and then he took another whack second half. That's settling down over the week. It's still too early to say whether he's going to be right, but we are hopeful that he should be okay to play at the weekend.
We were waiting for full news on Finn. Where are we at with him?
Yeah, Finn had surgery on Wednesday morning. Forest have sent him over to Finland to a guy they use over there. So he had the surgery on Wednesday morning. I had contact with him on the evening, and it all seemed to go well. But again, we're probably looking at 4 months for Finn, I would imagine, to make sure he's right, and we've just got to see how it goes from there.
Do we talk to Forest about that loan deal? Is there anything they would do to call him back or anything like that with him?
We've certainly had those conversations, but we don't know at the moment what the plan is. If we're looking at 4 months, we think it'll be about March that he should be back, end of March. Now it's just whether or not Forest want to keep him in the building. Obviously we have an obligation that we've got him on loan for the season. There is a window in January where we can recall him, and the conversation would go on to see whether they will do us a favour, because obviously it's an expense that we've got to pay out for a player who's possibly not going to play much more part. But we will make sure we do what's right for Finn. He actually said to me that on his text message to me, he said, I fly back from Finland on Friday and I want to come to the game on Saturday with my dad. And I've actually just said to him, it's maybe a little bit too early to come up this weekend. Wait and come up, and we'll make sure we look after you when you come up next time. And it'll be really good to see him, because he has been a brilliant lad. He's shown what a good pro he is, what a good footballer he is, what a chance he's got with his career. And I just hope he makes a full recovery, and maybe we might see him again.
You've said it there, but you've also said it before in terms of a loan spell. He's ticked every box. It's been perfect.
Oh, it's been brilliant, and I know they're delighted with what we've done for him as well. They're really pleased with the development, the way we've looked after him, the fact that he's had games, which isn't always a given when you take loan players in, but he has been a definite starter for us, and he's showed everybody with his personality what type of lad he is. And he's been a great loan for us, and hopefully we'll get some more from him as well.
Callum, is he still ill?
No, Callum's back. He's trained all week, so he came back into it on Monday. He's had a full week of training, so he's back into the mix for the weekend, and I'll be pleased to welcome him back.
You explained it with Morgan. I take it there's no change with the 3 to 4 weeks that you were expecting with him?
No, he's certainly not for this weekend with Morgan. He's been back out on the grass today doing some real steady running. We're hoping to try and get him up to 90 to 100% pace next week, possibly with a view to being involved in the game v Barrow. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how he is. It's certainly improving, and hopefully he'll be fine.
It's the good news on that side of it. We've got Joel, who was really fit, looked really good on Tuesday, and Jamie Devitt did 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Dev did 90. We weren't expecting that, but because of the other things, we knew Joel was only going to play half a game. But then when Ben Barkley went off as well, we had a little bit of a problem there. So it was 90 minutes where he got himself through it, which was good. He's just done a recovery today, but he's obviously getting fitter and stronger, and I think everybody in the football club was delighted to see Joel back. I thought he grew into the game as well, and he's trained again, and we'll just keep building him up as we go through the next few weeks.
That 90 minutes on Tuesday, I know everybody gets disappointed when you lose, but again, you've said this before, if players aren't playing regular match football, it can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah, well, it showed that. We played against a young Blackpool side who were full of enthusiasm and running around, and it certainly looked like our players needed it. I wasn't very happy with the performance, wasn't particularly happy with the application. The result, I would have liked a positive result, but it's irrelevant because it was about them getting fit. So there's obviously work that needs to be done with lads who are not playing regular football, and that's something that we've got to look at as a group of staff. We're going to have to work them harder when we don't have games to make sure that they are able to go out and do a 90-minute game. We've had to finish the game with 10 men because we're getting players cramping up. That for me is unacceptable. That shouldn't happen. So we're going to have a look at that as a group of staff and make sure that doesn't happen again.
What did you do to put last weekend to bed?
We reviewed it on Tuesday. We didn't talk about it on Monday. I just left it. I've got to be honest with you, it took me a long time to get over the anger of what happened there. I came in on Monday and it was still in there, so I didn't review with the players. We waited. Tuesday we went through it again. Not so much the glaringly obvious mistake that happened, but other things that we need to do better. So we've talked about it. We've worked on it this week in training, and the big thing that we've said is that after 19 league games, we're in a good position. What we have to make sure is that over these next 27, we don't let it all peter out. We have to be really strong. We've got to be really positive. We've got to keep building. We're in a great position with 3 out of the next 4 games at home. The first one being Sutton, and we've got to make sure we do it properly to keep moving on.
We all saw the confrontation at the end. Has there been any follow-up from the FA on that?
There's been letters back and forward. There's been little bits of video, but there's nothing that's really conclusive that's come out of it. I don't really know where we're at with it at the moment. The bits of the video that I've seen is that we look to be, a lot of the stuff that I've seen is our players trying to pull people apart and trying to separate it all. Unfortunately, when the word mass confrontation gets used, it sounds worse than it probably is, and by the letter of the law it was a mass confrontation, because if it's 3 or more, and we're probably going to have to deal with it. I just think that there were mitigating circumstances in it. There was all the emotion of the way the game finished. There was the emotion that went right at the final whistle, and it just happened to be all in front of our supporters, and our players wanted to go and thank our supporters. That's what I was walking across for. I wasn't going to go and have a confrontation with anybody. I was going to applaud our supporters, and then it all kicks off. So it's really disappointing, but I'm sure it'll be dealt with in the right way.
And dealing with it on the pitch, we've got Sutton at the weekend.
Yeah, big game for us. Really good game for us as well. They've had a more difficult start to this season than they did last year. You had a fantastic first season up in the league and finishing, I think they were 8th last season, and they were a real handful. So I'm sure they'll be hoping to get back to the form that they showed last season. They had a good win at home in their last league fixture. And they'll be hoping to carry it on. But the big thing for us is we've got to be right. We've got a home game. We're sat in a good positive position in the league, and we have a real good opportunity to go and cement our place up there, or maybe even nick another couple of places.
Seem to be a team that under Matt Gray, they've got a defined way of playing, get after it, get forward and get after it.
Yeah, they do, yeah, but they're effective at it, and I'd never knock anybody for the way that they play, so long as it's effective for them. It's probably not been as effective this season as it was last year, and we've got to make sure that in this game this weekend it's not effective again. We have to play our way, and that is starting the game properly, being front foot, being locking on to players, being competitive, and then hopefully our football comes to the fore as well.
And the disappointment of going out of a cup can sometimes have a hangover. It's important that we don't allow that to happen.
Well, we haven't got any time for it. There's no point worrying about it because we can't change it now. It happens. In the league, if you have a bad result, you've got another opportunity to address it, except after game 46. But this is a chance we've got now. We can put the cup to bed. We don't need to worry about any cup competitions this year, which on the one side is disappointing, but on the other side of it, it's a positive that we have to use in our league form.
And the league form, where we are in the table, that speaks for itself. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, it does speak for itself. We've had some really good results, home and away, and we need to carry it on. We need to keep going. I want us to get back to being really hard to get goals against us. I want us to be strong physically when we're defending, but I also want us to be really creative and clinical when we get into the final third and we're attacking. This is a good opportunity for us. Hopefully we'll get a good backing from our own supporters, and we can get ourselves back on the bike again.
Kicking off early because of the World Cup, Paul. I know you've been following it. What do you think of England and their progression?
Been very good, really good. It's when you're going through competitions in international football, it's not all plain sailing. You know, you can have a good performance and not get a result. You can have a poor performance and get results, and it's about just finding a way. And you know, they've qualified as top of the group, which is brilliant. That would always be the first aim. I think people forget that we've gone into the tournament, and you look at the teams, Iran, USA, Wales, think what a doddle. Wales are never an easy game, and we put them to bed, you know, very comfortably, particularly second half. USA are one of the top FIFA ranked teams in the world. That was always going to be tough, and we got a point out of it. We didn't lose. Iran ranked 20th in the world. We absolutely wiped the floor with Iran and set ourselves up. Now we've just got to keep going. We're now into where it really matters, the knockout stages. Gareth's been able to blood a few players in there and give them some minutes. He's got a great selection headache now of what team to pick. I'm sure he'd rather have that than the team picks itself, because he's only got 11 starters. So we're in a good position, and I'm really looking forward to the game against Senegal at the weekend, and then we'll deal with whatever comes after.
We were talking before, are you more invested because you've worked with some of these lads, there's 3 or 4 of them, the likes of Mount and Saka, that you've actually worked with them in your England capacity?
I don't know if I could have ever been more. I'm an England fan. You know, I'm loving the fact that the cricketers are doing really well in Pakistan. All of the rugby teams, men and women, have done really well recently as well. So I'm an England fan. I want England to do well. So I really want us to do well. It's great for me to sit back and look at, you know, the people like Aaron Ramsdale and Mason Mount and Phil Foden and Bukayo, knowing that I had a really, really small part to play in their England careers. But it's good, and I'm pleased for Gareth and for Steve Holland, because they're really 2 top people who, when I worked at the FA, they weren't just about looking after the seniors, they were really engaged in everything the development teams are doing. So I'm delighted for them, and you know, there's a little bit of me that's hoping come the end of it, Gareth can just stand, and I know he won't do it, but put 2 fingers up to everybody who's talked absolute rubbish, all these people who know in their own minds what the jobs look like. They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue what it's like. So I hope Gareth has his day.
Last one, Paul, there's been another step forward in dealing with heading the football during training sessions. Does that affect you guys? Can it even be monitored effectively?
It's really hard to monitor it, I've got to be honest with you. It's part of our game. We very rarely do specific heading drills, so it's not something that we really worry about. I think it's important, I really do, in terms of that. I think without worrying about the number of heading contacts that we have, I think we need to sort out the concussion protocols. I think that's the biggest thing. I think off the top of my head, I'm thinking two times this World Cup, we've had 2 horrible cases where a player should have been withdrawn straight away. There's no 2 ways about it. They should have gone. Is it Nico Williams? I think was one, and I think it was a Saudi goalkeeper or something, or Qatari goalkeeper. The doctor should have took them off the field straight away, and if the doctor doesn't, the referee should have done. And that's something that we cannot take chances. It's too risky for players. I know there's a lot of talk about should we have concussion subs like they do in rugby. If that's an answer, brilliant, let's do it. But I think if there's any risk there is at no point would I ever be saying to a doctor or to a physio that player has to stay on because it's important for us. If there's any risk, they have to come off, and that's the thing that I think we need to address more than more than worrying about the heading side of it.